military equipment, as I said, is not for the purpose of destroying public infrastructure. It's not the purpose of destroying roads. They are supposed to protect them. And it speaks to our own capacity as a country to be able to tackle and handle this situation. There is all manner of concerted efforts that's going on in the war in Ukraine. We do not have a similar situation by countries in our continent. We need to rethink the peace that we can commit. To what extent can it remain a passive, organization when children and women are going through hell in our continent? It speaks volumes as to what we should do, the architecture of the African Union and the reform that has been pending for the last almost 10 years. It speaks to the heart of the urgency, as I said, of the reform in our organization. Kwa lugha ya Kiswahili.
In Kiswahili now, we have challenges, so many challenges which have been brought by the climate change in our countries, in our continent, and in our countries, and in the world at large. The aim of this summit today here is for us as people of this continent, instead of seeing ourselves as people who have been affected and who have been impacted and others have caused these impacts, though it is true, we can say that it is not enough for us to condemn those who have caused these impacts. It is now the right time for all of us to think what kind of contribution of ideas, of actions, and the recommendations that we can give out to make sure that we solve this challenge. Because most of us in Africa have lost our cattle, we have lost our people, we have lost our plants, even agriculture in general have been affected. So what we are saying here is that we should not continue lamenting and complaining of what has happened. It is the high time for us now. We know that we have solutions. We have resources in Africa. We have resources for green energy. We have hydro, geothermal, wind power, solar energy, which we can use to contribute in this journey of green revolution and green manufacturing and green industrialization in Africa. What we are saying is that because we have all these resources in our continent, we need to have a discussion and debates with our partners to come with their resources. They have technology, they have finance, and all of us have finance. So how can all of us have a kind of discussions which will bring outcome which will lead to win-win situation. So instead of complaining, we need to work together and look for solutions together. That's why this summit is here today, and we have agreed with the leaders that we are going to have another summit in Nairobi from 4th to 6th in September this year. In this summit, we are going to bring our ideas together and mobilize resources so that we have one voice in the coming summit of the future of the United Nations. We go in Paris, we talk with our partners, and we go to COP28 with one plan and recommendations. We want to agree as an Africa to have a common position and talk with one voice, that we don't want to continue complaining, but we need to sit on the table to look for solutions together because our people are being affected.
I think I have already spoken to the subject of the stabilization of Sudan there are different initiatives. IGAD, we took a decision that it was necessary for us because Sudan is a member of IGAD. In fact, it is the current chair of IGAD. And because it is in a situation that it cannot provide leadership of that organization, we are going to have a meeting on the 12th of next month to reorganize IGAD, to rethink the future of IGAD, and to position IGAD as an agent of stability in our region, and to provide the necessary leadership on matters development, on matters infrastructure, and much more importantly, on matters stability of our region, and to actively and meaningfully participate in resolving the issues in Sudan, because this is our neighborhood, this is our region, and we have the ultimate responsibility of making sure that this region is stable and is peaceful. As I have said, it also speaks to our capabilities as members of the Africa Union and the position of the Peace Security Committee of the Africa Union, that we need to rethink the architecture of our union so that it is organized in such a manner that it is fit for purpose, especially in a world that is experiencing huge crisis from conflict as a result of resource sharing. We have challenges of terrorism. We have challenges of climate change. We have challenges of other geopolitical crises that is emerging. We must be ready and prepared to be able to take our place and to provide leadership for our continent and our people. What was the other issue? I think I have responded to all the matters. Okay. Any other issue? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Gilbert with the APPN, the African Parliamentary Press Network. And I want to also thank you for your inspiring speech. Your Excellency, the issue on the economy in Africa is mainly dollarized. There is currently the move for some of the African countries to join the BRIC. We've heard of Nigeria and others trying to join the BRIC. Now, I want to find out from you, with repositioning of Africa, whether there is a need for us now to have a common currency and whether joining the BRIC will be the best option to go. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. I'd asked two questions that you didn't respond to. One, when is Kenya ratifying the PAP legislative powers? And just to build on him, your inspiring speech that is reawakening the continent.
Okay, let me answer the first one about, in fact, it was brought to my attention that Kenya is yet to ratify the protocols on the Pan-African Parliament. And I want to undertake, Mr. President, that before you come to Nairobi in September, we will have concluded that exercise. So you can take it from me, because we are believers in this continent, and Kenya is a champion of consolidating our issues around the Africa Union. On what we are doing about our continent, it is our responsibility, ultimately, because we are elected by the people of this continent, and they have legitimate expectations from us as leaders to consolidate their issues, to prosecute their agenda, and to deliver on what Africa deserves. And that is why I have said that as leaders of this continent, more often than not, we have understated our case. We have not acted with clarity in some of the cases. And in some cases, we have merely accepted to be consigned to some peripheral conversations when the real conversation is happening somewhere else. And we are saying, going into the future, we are going to take our rightful place. We are a continent of 1.2 billion people. It is not fair, it is not correct that we have no say in the United Nations Security Council. It is not correct. That is architecture that was built 80 years ago. It is no longer fit for purpose. And therefore, we must appropriate our place and we must state our case. We have also taken the position that the current international financial infrastructure of the World Bank and the IMF and the multilateral lenders does not work for us. In fact, it is as a case where these institutions have profiled Africa as a risky investment, as a risky area. And as a result, they have made investments impossible in Africa because no private person can invest in a place where international financial institutions have classified as risky. There must be mechanisms of de-risking investments in Africa. If at all they are risky, we believe they are not. There must be a new conversation about the international financial system so that, and by the way, we are not asking for an international financial system that favors Africa. No, we are asking for one that is fair. And asking for an international financial system that is fair is not asking for too much. It is just asking for one that is fair, that treats Africa the way it treats others. It is not practical, it is not correct that accessing development funds for those of us in Africa, we do so at rates that are 15, 20, 50 times much more expensive than our competitors elsewhere. So if we are accessing development financing at 50 times what others access, it means the system is rigged against us. The system is set up for those of us borrowing at 50 times to fail. That is why you have mounting debt everywhere. That is why you have countries defaulting on their foreign obligations, because from the beginning, they were set up to fail. Let me ask you, if you are borrowing at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11%, and your economy is growing at 4%, it means when you borrow, you will never repay because your economy cannot support the interest rates you are being asked to pay. So from the beginning, when you borrow at 8, 9%, when your economy is growing at 3, 4%, you are set to default. You are set to fail. So that is why the conversation we need to have about the international financial system, and that is the new position we are taking as a continent, we are not going to blindly agree on an ecosystem that is set up against us. We are saying, let us have a conversation. If our compatriots access development funds at 1%, why are we being asked to pay 10%? Don't you think that's a legitimate question to ask? And we are told, it's 10% because Africa is risky. How? And why aren't there mechanisms to de-risk Africa? And in any case, economists have proven that Africa has the highest returns on investment. So this is the conversation that we want to have. We have to candidly speak to the situation. And we are saying, if we are accessing development funds, if others are accessing at 1%, let us access at 1%. Don't charge us 2% or 3% or 10% as is the case now. That's basically what we're saying. Let me give you another example. Because of COVID, we ended up with something called special drawing rights. What happened? we ended up with the whole continent of 1.2 billion people, ended up with, I think, $34 billion. Europe with $7 billion of money we all agreed should be created. So explain to me how 400 million people get $167 billion and 1.2 billion people get a quarter of what they got. And is that fair? We're just saying we want a fair system. And that's not too much to ask. And that is precisely the conversation, the new conversation we want to have. And that's the future we all want to look at. Finally, we are saying also that the matter of climate change, as I have said earlier, yes, it is true that we contributed the least. Yes, it is true that we are suffering the most. It is also true that damage and loss, adaptation and mitigation finances that are promised have not been paid. We have legitimate complaints, we have legitimate concerns, we have legitimate issues. But we are also willing to say, let's set this aside. As a continent, we have a right to complain, but we don't want to complain. We have legitimate issues to tackle, but let's put them aside. We are saying, let us have a different conversation. And the different conversation is, look, decarbonizing industrialization and economic growth is now a cardinal principle of going into the future. We have the assets to decarbonize manufacturing. We have the assets to decarbonize industrialization. We have the assets for green growth. We are willing to come with our assets of renewable energy, from hydro to wind to solar to geothermal. All we are saying is that we want a win-win outcome. With our assets, we want our compatriots to come with their assets of technology, of financing, create green growth, green industrialization, green manufacturing out of our continent. The assets we have of renewable energy, the mineral resources we have, instead of transporting iron ore to China, why don't we refine it in Congo? Instead of transporting bauxite from Africa, why don't we create aluminum industries that are green, using geothermal, using wind, using hydro energy in Africa? We are willing to sell this, we're willing to sell steel, we're willing to sell the aluminum to our partners. But for heaven's sake, let us keep what is ours. Let us share what belongs to all of us. I don't think that's unfair to ask. You know, that's the conversation we are having. That's the conversation we want to have. Instead of finger pointing, you caused this, blame that one, blame the other one, that conversation is not taking us anywhere. So we are saying, we don't want to be limited. And you heard me say, we do not want to be limited or to be sidelined to the margins of conversation about problems others created. We want to be at the center of providing solutions for ourselves and by extension for our globe. So that's the offer we are making. And we are being genuine, we are being considerate, but we are also being proactive. Instead of engaging in a conversation of blame game, let us engage in a conversation of finding solutions together. The conversation about damage and loss is a $100 billion conversation. But the conversation on investment, the conversation around investment is a $150 trillion conversation. Why do you want us to go and sit at the corner of a conversation that is not even 10% of the conversation of investment? That's what I'm saying. While it is true all the things that are being said, but we want to have a different conversation because we have what it takes to provide solution to this climate change. And if you go through my speech, I was trying to, I don't know whether I succeeded in making the case. I was trying to make the case that green industrialization, green energy in Africa will not only help us towards zero emission in Africa, we will help the rest of the world. The people who cannot meet their targets, we will help them meet their targets by them investing in Africa. If we were honest about this conversation, we shouldn't be having a protracted engagement. We should have agreed and moved forward.
Thank you very much for your time, Excellency.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No more
Thank you,
questions,
colleagues. Yes.
Thank you, Excellency.
Yeah, no problem.
We don't want to
No, it doesn't look like that.
know their thing. You don't interfere.
Non manger. Ah, tu me comprends.
Maybe equal.
Yeah, the government must come in.
This is good.
This one was in me. The one with the color. This one was in the corner. It was in the color. Oh, yes. It was here. The big one. Those were the five. It was five, but in five. Yes. It was there.
So which means
Okay, what is above this? What is above?
no, this one both. That one massage.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring this one.
Hey.
Push it. And put this one
I think I go to
like that. Mix the cup. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I right. I think
Oh, okay. Thank you. They will come for the big one. It is inside the whole room. We'll send it right. I can pass here.
Yeah. There is some. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we look at it.
yeah, we can give them. We can give them. We'll take the table.
I will put it. Six packet. We don't approve it.
I think that thing it took so you can't go there for
What?
is that what?
I said, wait, it's two packet.
So kwenda kama sisi salama na klasi sisi kama mmoja simulioni sasa na
Say what?
yeah.
What do you say?
Ngisole khona le. Yanga. Itondi.
The person can talk.
Ancheka le khona.
This one will be closing. Can imagine. This will be closing. That's all right. Let to ship.
Like checking here. Yes, that one. It's better.
This thing was here. You
Was
see,
yesterday.
they shift it, you see, just here. You can see. They shift it, you can see.
Okay, let's just keep
Yeah,
that.
they shift
Okay.
it.
No, it's fine.
They shift this thing, is what's here. You can
Ibambe smart.
Yeah. Because even the person was sitting, you can get closing.
You see? Is a photo book. Right, no. Olokanya.
It's fine now.
Falenta
You
mbokanga.
can get the close.
It was the progress.
Yeah. That's part.
Kunenye le ingamukeza. Alright, kunaita.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit.
Pockford, switch off the mic.
switch off. It's on now.
It's on now.
Yeah, it's off.
This one. Is the right one?
Yeah.